Hello and welcome to Filibusters in Fine Print, where AMGA's public policy team gives you the insider view on healthcare regulations and legislation. Thanks so much for joining us for the latest from Washington, D.C.
Good morning and welcome to Filibuster in Fine Print, AMJ's public policy podcast with all the policy news that's fit to print. We are just coming off a staff meeting, so we're a little lethargic right now, but we'll try to pick it up just now. Want to introduce the crew here. I'll start to my left as always. The Grand. That's right.
Hi, I'm Lauren Latney, Director of Government Relations at AMGA.
Oh, Alicia Sawyer, Government Relations Assistant.
Jamie Meller, Ambassador Goodwill here.
Hi, everybody. It's Daryl Drevna, Senior Director of Regulatory Affairs.
And Daryl just gave us coffee cups with Filibusters in Fine Print.
Now we're like officially a podcast. We have swag now.
Swag, very nice. And videos are next. So question of the day, we talked about it before. Favorite summer memory? Lauren, yours and mine are similar, I think.
In what way?
And my parents didn't do anything for me in the summer. Okay. So I sat and watched TV for 8 hours a day, and they wondered why I was bored.
Yeah. Fortunately, there was a little series called The Babysitters Club that helped at Club Grandma, which was the summer camp that my parents dropped me and my brother off on every day. I don't even know if they asked. To be honest. Like, I was like, did she call in advance? But like at Camp Grandma, you stayed outside and found something to do at your time, and you did not interrupt her stories or let her cold air out and ride running in and out. Mm-hmm. So those were always favorite summer memories because I was jealous of people who went to camp. I was like, what's that like?
Can you imagine?
No. Although, honestly, you bet me. Do you think I would do well at camp?
No, honestly, I think you would do great at camp.
Really?
You would be in charge.
Oh, that's true.
as a counselor.
I got sent to camp because in Florida, it was too hot for kids to be outside most of the time.
True.
And my parents didn't want to keep me there, so they sent me up to Virginia for a month, and I did sleepaway camp in the mountains up here.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it was really nice. I was at Camp Carysbrook in Reiner, Virginia, if anyone's ever heard of it. Great place.
.com.
Yeah.
And you had finger puppets.
Yes, we made finger puppets at my Camp Grandma.
Okay.
I grew up kind of near Blue Ridge Mountains, and my dad would take me and then all the neighborhood kids and their parents, the fathers, would all go hiking and for like 4 or 5 days. And at the time, I didn't think it was that fun because my dad considered it kind of like survival training. But looking back on it and having a job now, I'm like, this is great. No one can contact you. It's awesome. And so it was a great time, and I would say I learned a lot about how to filter water and catch fish, and you need to hang your trash and your food because the black bears are going to get it. So
bear bags.
Yeah, bear bags. Yeah. Oh, this is Daryl's language. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And this may go off into a tangent.
I did not go to camp as a kid, but I go to camp all the time now as an assistant scoutmaster. So I know all about like hanging your bear bags and all that. But as a kid, all I did was either in the summers was play baseball or it was the 90s, so you had your rollerblades, and I was playing lots and lots of street hockey, right? So it was when the NHL decided to be trendy for about 5 minutes, and we had teams in Florida all of a sudden, and street hockey was the thing.
Well, not bad.
Yeah.
All right. I'm glad you all had some nice summer memories. Okay. Well, not that this is a memory, but I guess it's a recent memory. The big, beautiful bill passed just recently. It is funny. My 14-year-old daughter said, they really called this the big, beautiful bill? I said, yes, they did. She goes, that's interesting. So from the mouth of babes go I. But anyway, so the bill just recently passed. And so, Lauren, a little status update on the bill and where it is, and other questions will follow.
Yeah, so I have a memory that'll be forever attached to this, which is I was flying to California. No, I was flying to Georgia while watching the bill on C-SPAN because I was the only one working that day. It sounds the legislature.
I hope your timesheets reflect that.
Yeah. So I get up at my flight's at 11. I get up at 6:30 in the morning. I see Hakeem Jeffries speaking, and then I continue packing. And then at 7:30 he's still speaking. And 8:30 I'm like, oh, maybe he'll wrap this up before I get in the Uber at 9. And he continued to talk. So I watched him filibuster for 8 hours.
Yeah.
At the Reagan National Airport on my flight to Jacksonville on American Airlines, and at the Jacksonville International Airport, number 2 mid-sized airport.
Is it really?
Country.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Who's won?
I don't know,
Louisville?
because I was like, I think maybe. Yeah. And so I watched that while I was waiting for my luggage to be delivered. And so, the status is the bill has been passed. It was signed into law by President Trump's July 4th deadline. That was
July 4th, right?
Yeah. After months and months. And so it has passed.
So was this a heavy lift for the Trump folks?
It was. It was
Yeah.
a much heavy lift. In the Senate, they had to bring in Vice President J.D. Vance to break a tie, because it barely passed. If it wasn't for Lisa Murkowski advocating for her state of Alaska and getting Well Harpoon's tax credits, then it probably wouldn't have passed in the Senate. And so he had to come and break that tie. It barely passed in the House. So before you can proceed with a big vote, you have to vote on a rule, which basically structures what the debate is. This was the largest open rule until yesterday, because that got beat up by the cryptocurrency bill.
Oh, really?
It stayed over 7 hours. It was from 9:30 p.m. till 3:20 a.m. And so, it was a lot to push through. And the House barely accepted the Senate amendment because they didn't like it. But there was no choice, right? You couldn't go back and renegotiate all these bill programs because you had to start back from the beginning. And so it's a product that no one seems to really like, but now they have to go sell it.
And selling it, and they will do. So what direction did the bill go policy-wise when it went from the House to the Senate?
The bill became more conservative as it moved through the Senate. They found increased cost savings in Medicaid by several $1 billion. And what we saw was a lot of GOP holdouts that we were hoping in the Senate would not vote for the bill ended up voting for it. And it was, even though they had concerns about Medicaid, so it was a bit disappointing for everyone.
Yeah, so it went from what? About $715 billion in Medicaid cuts in the House version to close to $1 trillion in the Senate version.
Yes.
You're right. So, and the Senate did not act as the saucer under the hot cup of coffee, as it typically does. It actually got more conservative. And I think one of the senators said we are more conservative. I think that was Mike Rounds, maybe from South Dakota. But anyway, so it actually got, I guess, for our members' perspective, worse as it went from the House and then to the Senate. And the folks we thought were going to oppose additional Medicaid cuts did not oppose those cuts.
No.
Although I see they are now. All righty. Well, that was interesting. And then, as you said, the House accepted it because to do otherwise would have taken another 2 months out of their day.
And President Trump had a deadline, and he was going to make that deadline. So it was, he is the ultimate enforcer when it comes to these votes. He is the one that seals the deal every single time. And so we saw it again this time. Mike Johnson keeps his job again.
Yeah.
He's able to continue to corral these these votes on the floor, which is really shocking, to be honest.
President Trump is the best whip we've ever seen.
Yeah, I agree.
Truly.
Yeah.
Even better than LBJ was.
Yeah.
Now I'm dating myself. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, well, I wasn't working when LBJ was there. Okay.
just for the record.
Master of the Senate. Such a great book.
So President Trump is the Frank Underwood
Definitely.
of the modern era. Great show.com.
Great show.
Okay. All right, so let's talk about some
Before
of
it
the...
got canceled.
Before
that-
yeah.
Moving
That's
on.
right. Yeah, moving on. First 3 seasons, great. Okay,
Yes.
so let's talk about what are some of the major provisions of the big, beautiful bill that our members need to know about, or I'm sure they know about, but let's reinforce it again.
Sure. So, as Alicia said, this bill takes, cuts Medicaid, and it does that in a variety of ways. I think top of line is how it restricts states' abilities to use provider taxes, and it is prohibiting non-expansion states. What does that mean? That means states that didn't expand Medicaid under the Affordable Care Act. And it prohibits these states from increasing the rate of their current provider taxes or increasing the base of that tax so it didn't previously apply. So basically, it's locking into place what these states are able to do with the provider tax. And this is a way for states to draw down additional federal funding through the Medicaid program. And non-expansion states cannot increase the rate of their current provider taxes. There's some hold harmless provisions, and I could ramble on for another 10 minutes about this, but essentially this bill clamps down on the ability of states to use provider taxes to fund their Medicaid programs.
Yeah, if you're an expansion state, which is 40 states, including the District of Columbia, I believe, so your provider tax will actually be reduced over a period of years.
Over a period of time. Right. So starting in, it's reduced by 0.5%, the hold harmless provision, 0.5% until it reaches a cap of 3.5% by 2031.
2031. Okay. So non-expansion states, they can't go any higher. Expansion states are actually, you'll see that be reduced. And that begins in January 1st, 28, I believe, the cut of the provider taxes?
Yeah, beginning in 2028.
Okay. All right.
That's when that kicks in conveniently after the midterm election.
Yeah, that's, and that never happens. Yeah. Okay, that's, as you said, a major way of funding Medicaid reimbursements, provider tax. This is going to be a big deal for the members. What else happened?
So another way, so Congress and, the President Donald Trump talked about eliminating waste, fraud, and abuse, and we talk about cuts. And there's other ways to save money, as Daryl mentioned. You can actually take people off the rolls and make sure they're not enrolled in Medicaid. So one way they're doing that, effective basically December 31st, 2026, is every year currently, once a year, CMS checks the rolls for individuals enrolled in Medicaid expansion adults. And so now it's going to say you have to check every 6 months to make sure that they should be in the system. Also, they're going to look at potential immigrant populations, and if that person is not an official U.S. citizen, and they're going to create more safeguards to potentially take these people off the rolls, effective October 1st, 2026. And then another thing, a little more insurance related, Medicaid, they're going to make sure that there are cost sharing requirements for access to services. Currently, Medicaid doesn't really have that. So there's the thought behind it is maybe from Republicans is people should be paying for access to care, but from an economic perspective, people who can't afford these copays are just not going to go seek care.
Okay. Care at all. So now you're going to have copays, co-insurance for expansion state Medicaid beneficiaries, which will be capped at, I think, $35, right?
Yeah.
So that's, which quite frankly be a huge hassle for our members because they have to collect it. They have to ask for it and then collect it, and then it's not collected, then there's another process. So yeah, that'll be a huge admin hassle for the members, to be sure. Other financial impacts, other mechanisms that they went after?
Sure, yeah. This bill takes a hard look at state-directed payments, and what that means, states can use this financing mechanism, and it essentially allows them to direct Medicaid managed care organizations, and that you can make specific payments to providers through these Medicaid managed care plans or organizations to support, specific state policy goals. This could be something like improving care quality or enhancing access to services or addressing, a specific healthcare need in your particular state. Basically, this is a way for states to direct their managed care plans on who to pay, meaning providers, how much to pay them, all within like some federal guidelines. And what this legislation does is limits new state-directed payments that haven't been submitted or reviewed or received approval by date of enactment. So if you didn't get your paperwork in and signed by July 4th this year, you're kind of out of luck. And for new programs, that payment rate cannot exceed 110% of the equivalent Medicaid rate in non-expansion states. So
Medicare rate, right?
Medicare Medicare rate. If I say Medicaid, I meant Medicare.
Yeah.
Medicare rate.
Noted for your evaluation.
Yes, I do know the difference between Medicaid and Medicare. Not everybody does.
That's our reg expert right there.
Yeah. Yes. So essentially, this is a way for them to essentially meet their budgetary, goals by clamping down on how much funding states can spend through these state-directed payments. There's some grandfathering clauses in there as well. But if you're looking for savings in the program, this is one way to do it by ratcheting down how much states can spend through their MCOs.
Okay. Yes, I guess what had happened is a lot of MCOs were using commercial rates to pay Medicare, Medicaid beneficiaries and Medicaid providers, of which our members are. And so now it's going to be linked to Medicare, which is another significant hit to Medicaid reimbursements. Is that fair to say?
Right. So, depending on who you're talking to, you can be like, well, you're overpaying Medicaid and this is drawing down additional federal funds unjustifiably. And the flip side is like, Medicaid underpays as it is. It's going to make it that much more difficult to provide care to these beneficiaries.
Absolutely. A lot of uncompensated care is coming our way.
Yeah.
So the bill did a lot around Medicaid, but it also did some ACA changes too. Is that right, Jamie?
Yes, sir. So as Daryl mentioned, there's a lot of people being kicked off of Medicaid, but there's 11 to 12 million people are being kicked off insurance in general, and some of those are people who get access to the exchanges. So what this bill does, there's a few provisions in there that if you get kicked off of Medicaid, it's going to make it very difficult for you to get access to a premium tax credit. Also, not in the bill, but will be a factor at the end of this year, is the enhanced premium tax credit, which is for a certain population. That expires. And so the amount of uninsured people will increase dramatically in the coming weeks and years because of the policies in this bill and policies that were not considered. And as Chet mentioned, it's going to result in a lot more uncompensated care.
And making sure that those premium tax credits are extended is one of AMJ's big pushes.
Yes, sir.
And at the end of September when that expires. So we will push on that. Okay. So there was other changes to work requirements for Medicaid as well. Is that right?
That's correct. So Jamie's talking about people, getting pushed off the rolls for one way, shape, or form, and work requirements is another way to do that. It's a way to control costs. And essentially, they are implementing a work requirement that you need to have, if you're an able-bodied adult without dependents, you need to be involved, either work or some sort of community engagement as of December 31st, 2026. And you can do this either by doing community service, a work program, education program, or some sort of combination of these for at least 80 hours. There are some exceptions if you're a parent with a dependent child, but one of the wrinkles here is you used to define dependent as, you have a child 18 years or younger. They pushed that down, so now it's that child has to be 14 or younger. So there's that gap now, and a lot of folks who have a teenager all of a sudden are going to find that doesn't exclude them from these work requirements. So, when you're talking about the number of people who are going to lose insurance coverage, this is one of the ways that it's going to happen.
Yeah, I know this was, work requirements are generally popular when you pull it, but apparently does not work in the states where it has been tried, which is Georgia and I think Arkansas. Yeah. And, well, Miss Latin would certainly know about that. And she's a Georgia native, as is my father.
Right. I didn't know that.
Yeah, Fort McPherson, Georgia.
Oh, Fort McPherson, yes. There was a great report in ProPublica about this. Georgia implemented these additional work requirements, and all it did was lead to more administrative burdens by both the state and people trying to apply for benefits they actually qualify for. So I think Georgia expected about over 100,000 people to be joining on these programs, and they did not, just because of the difficulties around securing the paperwork. And so all it does is add even more administrative burdens to the state and not serve the populations that's supposed to. So you're looking at, I just think about the rulemaking process on this and how these states are going to have to develop all these programs and create new systems in order to track all these things.
Yeah.
Indeed.
And it's not like those folks aren't going to get care one way. They're just going to end up in the emergency departments.
Yeah. We talked about uncompensated care is going to rocket, and the ER wait times are going to be, yikes, out the roof. So AMGA tip for our members, don't get sick. Okay. All All right, there was a doctor provision in there, though, wasn't there, Jamie?
Sure. Yeah, there are a few miscellaneous provisions not Medicaid related. I would say the Medicare conversion factor and did a 2.5% increase for 2026. And as you may recall, 2025, there was no Medicare conversion factor relief. Daryl mentioned this in an email to our members recently about the fee schedule, and that'll be coming out more and more. Also, Rural Health Transformation Programs, $50 billion to pay. You can, if you're not getting access to care, or you're potentially closing your doors. So Congress thought they'd give $50 billion, but also cut $1 trillion out of the system. So we will be giving you details in the coming weeks and months about the process there. And then one other just random miscellaneous thing, AMJ policy we've supported for years since the pandemic was allowing high deductible health plan beneficiaries to get access to telehealth pre-deductible. This is something we've been pushing for years and years, and it keeps getting pushed along the way, but now it's permanent. Or permanent's 10 years in DC speak. But that's something that's a good thing for beneficiaries and folks in the high deductible health plan world.
All right. Well, thank you for that. So what's next?
What's next is some of these policies are going to have to get implemented. It's very interesting how all the goodies, like the permanent of the 2017 Trump tax cuts, they got to the front, and a lot of tax cuts got to the front, and all of the cuts got passed, as Daryl mentioned, the midterms starting in 2026 for some of the requirements and additional administrative burdens, and 2028 for a lot of the other these healthcare provisions, so they can get over on the midterms, and whoever gets elected next as president is going to have to deal with it.
Yep.
But can I tell a little secret?
You certainly may.
Okay, so the secret to lobbying is sometimes not what you get passed, but what you get stopped.
I want to hear more.
So, being that some of these major provisions don't get implemented until 28 gives a lot of time for groups like ours to talk to Congress about delays and burdens that our members are facing, and maybe some of the things that got passed in the original bill might not show up and actually go through. Josh Hawley from Missouri is a really good example of that. He voted in favor of the big beautiful bill 2 weeks ago, and now has released a piece of legislation to completely repudiate all of the healthcare things, so people can read the room very well. And one of the things that happens with a big bill like this is that you have to go out and sell it. The administration has to sell it. These members of Congress have to sell it, and they have not mentioned the cuts. They talk about the goodies, but we're sophisticated policy people that know all this stuff. But most of the American public don't know what's in this bill, and when they find out, I don't know necessarily whether they'll be really happy about it. And so, how do we start positioning ourselves to look at what are these administrative burdens, all these things that can be possibly delayed?
Is Trump still popular enough where it doesn't matter? Like, if clinics started closing down, like, who are folks gonna hold responsible, do you think?
Trump is still really popular. There was a recent article in the Washington Post about how there was a rural clinic that's closing. The hospital CEO basically said, hey, we've been losing money. These Medicaid provisions go through, we're just going to shut down. And a lot of the people who lived in the town just said, no, this is not Trump's fault. It's not this bill's fault. It's your fault. And so there's a lot of still really protecting the president here. But we're seeing signs that people are a little concerned about some of his actions. And so we'll see when things start affecting people directly is when they get more involved in policy. And we've got some time.
Indeed. And I know all these sort of the quote unquote bad parts of this bill happen largely after the midterms, but we've talked to enough members to know that chief financial officers need to start making plans now. Yeah. So you may see more of an impact beginning in 26 when CFOs aren't going to do all these changes on 1/1/27.
Right.
So they are going to start implementing changes earlier, and so you may see more of an impact than folks think. Well, we've been talking about this bill, for months. This is our 25th webcast. Can I say that? Podcast? Yeah, thanks. Yeah. So it's our
26.
26.
Yeah.
Mike just gave me this smirk and said, no, it's 26. And we've been talking about this bill we've touched on it for probably all 26 podcasts.
Since
so
we started the podcast.
it's been going on for a long, long time. So it's past, Lauren, I like what you said. Obviously just because it's past doesn't mean we're going to stop working it. This will be our job from 26 on.
Yeah.
Is to revisit. How's that?
Yes.
A lot of these provisions to make sure that the members are taken care of. Any final comments for this one? I'm hearing no.
What would you hear on the next one? There's
Bueller.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go see the new Jurassic Park movie, so hold on to your butts, right? It's going to get interesting.
Yeah, we're gonna keep talking about this for a very, very long time.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, team, for a great podcast. And thank you, everyone, for listening, and have a great day.
Thanks for joining us for Filibusters in Fine Print. This podcast was brought to you by AMGA. For more information about AMGA's advocacy efforts, visit amga.org/advocacy.